Apologies for the cheesy title, but what's my secret is literally what people ask me. I've just been going through the reams of comments on my YouTube channel and all the questions that people ask me to address in this vlog, and many of them follow the same sorts of lines. How am I able to continue to improve for decades and into my 40s? How am I able to balance climbing and having a family life and work life? How am I able to climb hard across the different climbing disciplines? And quite often people finish the question with, what's my secret? It seems clear that people think that there is something, one particular thing that I must do differently from other people that allows me to do all these things in my climbing. My natural response to this is to say there's no secret. There's only hard work, there's only dedication, there's only showing up at the crag or the gym again and again, week in, week out for years, and that's what gets you there. And to a large extent, I do think that that is true. But as I was looking at all these different questions, addressing all of these different details in climbing, I did begin to wonder if maybe there is a secret or a small group of secrets that do draw all these things together, that have allowed me to progress in my climbing in a way that some other people might not have. So let me get to the point and say that if I could pick one thing that I would say was a secret that I have that's helped me, it would be breadth of experience. Actually, I think there's probably 2 or 3 things that I would identify: breadth of experience, having motivation like a fire, and also a tendency to question everything. I think those 3 things have maybe been things that have really helped me. The latter 2 I will deal with in separate posts, but in this post I will go through breadth of experience and try to talk about how it's really exerted such a strong influence on me. Our performance in our sport is largely a product of the environment we put ourselves in, and for me, being a climber based in Scotland, it's almost automatic that you are an all-round climber, and I think that alone has really helped me to gain a broad range of climbing skills. Now there's 2 elements to that. One is the nature of our weather. As you can see as I'm shooting this, the weather, the light keeps changing. I'm currently sport climbing, it's September. I'm hopefully next week going to be trad climbing because the weather looks warmer again, but if it gets any colder than this, then I'll be on to bouldering, and in a couple of months time we'll be on to mixed climbing. So there's all the different disciplines that we move through the different seasons every single year. So for sort of 3-month blocks, we're doing at least one discipline and then moving on to the next and moving on to the next, and that's just a constant process of refreshing your exposure to different types of climbing. But there's also a separate ingredient to that, which is in Scotland here we have many different types of rock, and so the character of the rock climbing is totally different. Today I'm climbing on schist, tomorrow I'll be climbing on granite, then we might be climbing on basalt, on slate, on andesite, on all different types of rock. And inevitably the features and the movements that are on those different types of rock really differ. If you can imagine the difference between different climbing walls that you visited and the different holds they use, if you've never climbed outdoors, then imagine like that sort of multiplied by an order of magnitude, and that is what the difference between different rock types and different areas feels like. So if you add those 2 things together, the different rock types together with the different climbing disciplines, then you get this really diverse, broad base of styles of climbing, styles of movement. So it almost goes without saying, if you only climb indoors, I think it's a good idea to climb in a broad range of different climbing walls with climbs set by different setters on different holds, on different angles, and climbing with different people. All of these different aspects allow you to expose yourself to different inputs to your technique learning, and that in itself will help you learn technique at a faster rate, regardless of anything else you do in your training. So this is not just about amassing large numbers of moves, although that is really important. If you watch one of my previous videos about how to train for bouldering, I was making the point that technical learning involves the components of the number of moves climbed together with the standard of concentration and effort that goes into each session, so the level of application that you actually have. And I guess right now I'm trying to say that there's another component again, which is the diverse set of environmental components of the type of climbing, the type of rock, the type of terrain you're on. And the more varied that is, the better. Often with decisions about planning your training, there are trade-offs. And one of the trade-offs that I think is not discussed all that much is that when you're trying to optimize around quality sessions all the time, that is, you have a specific session goal, usually based around some sort of physical component, like you're training strength in bouldering or pure endurance by doing laps on routes or something like that. Now that structure can be very positive for those aspects of your climbing, but there can be a trade-off with the spontaneity, the play-like aspect of doing things a bit more in a free-flowing way, if you will. One other trade-off with structure is that it often leads people to try to fit in more high-quality training into a shorter period of time. And that can be also a good thing because it allows you to fit in a lot of activity, a lot of training into a busy schedule that also leaves time for lots of other things in your life. But we can't get away from the fact that a lot of the world's best climbers simply spend a lot of time going climbing. I do not think that is ever really going to change. I do not think that's a coincidence. I think that the time spent doing both easy and hard climbs in large numbers is really, really valuable and always will be. Another thing that I mentioned in one of my previous blogs that I will link to is that I can remember a time when I was injured and I was doing lots of very, very easy climbs, and actually I credit that with the period where I made the most progress in my ability to just be a generally good climber, just to be able to read the rock and be overall technically competent in all aspects. Again, this is one aspect of improvement at climbing that is difficult to quantify, difficult to measure, but that doesn't mean that it's not important. So if, like me, you think that gaining a breadth of experience in all different types of climbing is important, how can you just go out and do it? How can you optimize the process? Well, I think that's kind of tricky, but ultimately I think a good rule of thumb is just to go out climbing at any opportunity and go to different places. So there are many different things. Climb on different rock types, as many different rock types as you can. Sea cliffs, mountain cliffs, small crags, big walls, all sorts of things like that. All the different rock types. Climb with many different people, because climbing with different people is always a different experience. I'm sure you'll have noticed that. Climb in different climbing disciplines, climb trad, climb cracks, climb overhanging bolted limestone in Spain, but climb sport climbing on granite or gneiss in Norway or Scotland or something like that. You will almost never be able to quantify this in your overall climbing ability. You will never be able to sit down and write a hard justification for including X number of sessions of just going out and doing easy climbing into your training program. But that does not mean that it's not valuable, and I still do think that all the best climbers in the world have this in common. The good thing about this aspect of training is it's pretty easy to implement. All you really need is the time. Maybe that's the only hard bit. But if you just go to a crag, or even at the end of your session where you would normally packing up and go home because you're a little bit tired to do very high intensity or high quality training, but just to go to some other part of the climbing wall or the crag or a different crag that you wouldn't normally go to, and just do something that's really quite different. So to conclude, people have often referred to my involvement at a reasonably high level across all the different climbing disciplines as being something unusual or impressive, and it's true that it is quite difficult to balance being good at lots of different things and disciplines at the same time. But there are also good aspects. So if I was to point to one secret that I would have, if there are any, that's helped me, it would be breadth of experience.